Okay. So I saw a video about this, and I just had to make my own because ugh, this is so much bullshit. This is such clickbait. And I think I just really need to explain why. Because the other guy in the video that I watched, which was Griffin Gaming, he didn't know too much about the technology. So let me tell you just how full of shit this guy is. So let's first see what he has to say.
As many of you may have noticed, over the course of the last couple of months, I've been making a lot of videos about the PlayStation 5, mostly because, personally, I'm just so hyped for it. I'm constantly curious what the games are going to look like, how expensive the console itself will be, and all sorts of little details like what is the controller going to look like. Well, last night, I was actually contacted by a PlayStation employee who's currently playtesting the PS5, and they revealed a lot of very interesting details to me that I want to actually talk to you about today.
Yeah, sure.
What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and
What's up, gamers?
before we get into this, I want to just say, please consider this all as rumors right now. I was able to confirm this
No, I'll consider it bullshit.
person's identity pretty concretely, and it seems like it's all completely legit, but there are just some things about it that are not 100% right.
Yeah, like most of the things you're about to say.
So just definitely take this with a huge grain of salt and think that maybe this is all crazy misinformation. But some of this stuff actually aligns pretty closely with some other leaks, and to me it gets me very, very excited. Now let's
Yeah, you're getting excited for those clicks, because that's just how you get them, by lying.
start off by talking a little bit about resolution. Now right now a lot of games are basically run at 720p or 1080p.
Well, most modern games are run at 1080p, 720p is kinda dead. Even the people with potato laptops use 768p instead.
But there has been talk about in the future maybe some consoles being able to actually hit 4K natively, or maybe even 8K natively.
Yeah, but doesn't the Xbox One X like do Minecraft in 4K? Yeah, that's about what you can expect from those consoles. No, but seriously, this guy's way overblowing what the console could do.
Now the reason I talk about this is because higher definition graphics are an interesting idea, but they're something that's definitely part of the future. Right now, if you wanted to buy an 8K television, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. They're kind of an impossible idea right now, but they're definitely a part of the plan. Everything is going to end up looking photorealistic. Well, according to my source, some of the games they're testing right now, well, a lot of them are very, very early on, of course. There's not a complete PS5 game, but some of the stuff that they're actually running on there is actually hitting native 8K.
That's bullshit. That's 100% bullshit. 'Cause, okay, there was this, I'm just gonna look right now. There was this video by Linus Tech Tips where they tried to play at 8K, and they had to take, what, two 1080 Ti's in SLI, and then it would even only run a game at medium settings at not even 60 FPS.
To game.
Oops. Yeah, found it. Okay. So let me find the part. Sorry, I'm just being this unprofessional, because thing is, I just saw the video by Griffin Gaming, and I thought I need to shed some light on this shit. Okay. So let me check real quick. Okay. So, this is... Oh, it doesn't even show. But basically... you can look this up yourself. The video is called Gaming at 8K Resolution, Holy Shit, Episode 12 by Linus Tech Tips. And at 8K, in Crysis 3, at 8K on medium settings, they only averaged 54 FPS. And that was with two GTX 1080 Ti's. 1080 Ti's are significantly stronger than the 1660 Ti. Possibly, if not, it might even be one 1080 Ti might even be about twice as strong as the 1660. That's about an estimate, knowing those cards. So, if that game doesn't run well at 8K, and that's Crysis 3 is a game that runs really well. That game, if you can not run it at 8K 60 on medium settings on two 1080 Ti's, you cannot run fucking games at 8K on a 1660. My current video card, the GTX 980 Ti, has more power than the 1660, and I can barely do 4K 60 in some games. So, this is absolutely ridiculous. And that wouldn't even be too far from what the Xbox One X can do, because the 1660 is not that much stronger than the Xbox One X. Like, it is stronger, but not that much. Anyway, let's see what other bullshit this guy has to spew.
This is a very, very big deal. Even if you're one of those gamers that's like, bro, I don't even care about graphics. It's still important because it means it's just basically a display of how strong this hardware actually is. So how are they able to hit this off? Well, it's only on certain games to start with. He was pretty...
They could probably do it in Minecraft. Maybe. There is a possibility they could do it in Minecraft. But that's about it.
Clear to say that it's not going to be like giant open world games if there's like dragons breathing fire on top of a castle and stuff.
If the giant open world games hit 4K, that would be... I don't expect that to happen. I really don't expect that to happen. But maybe if they stick to 30 FPS, which would be bullshit, but they've been doing it, so of course they're gonna do it again. But yeah, you can't expect other games to run that much better.
That's not going to be 8K. Instead, that stuff will be like a good strong 4K, but other things like racing games or corridor shooters, those things will actually be able to possibly hit 8K natively, and the way this is done is because it has 14 teraflops of CPU power inside it. This...
Okay. CPU power is gonna make those resolutions happen. Do you know what a GPU is for? It's called a GPU. GPU stands for Graphics Processing Unit. Guess what it does? It processes the graphics. Unlike the CPU. CPU haven't processed graphics since the beginning of the 2000s. Ugh. I still don't know how this guy expects anyone to believe this shit, but if you look, 2,000 thumbs up, so the worst part is he seems to be getting somewhere.
This is a lot of computing, and to give you a little bit of perspective, keep in mind that the PlayStation 4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops.
Of GPU power, not CPU power, you fucking idiot.
So this is like 3 times stronger, which is a pretty significant leap. Now, it's not as big as some people may think, simply because remember that the jump from 1080p to 4K is 4 times the resolution. Here's like an infographic to try and display that. It's a pretty big leap, so trying to go from 4K to 8K is another significant gap. This is...
Yeah, and it's not going to be jumped. Even high-end PCs today can barely do it. Maybe if you put 2 RTX 2080 Ti's in NVLink, maybe you can run some demanding games at 8K and get 60 FPS, but, well, not that demanding, but maybe you can run some demanding games at medium. Well, actually, maybe you can go higher. But it will need, for proper 8K gaming, you will need 2 RTX 2080 Ti's in NVLink, and yeah, that's more than $2,000, so yeah, I doubt they're gonna make that happen in the PlayStation 5. Imagine them selling a console at a loss that's over $1,600. Isn't the 2080 Ti like $1,200 or something? They theoretically could be selling it at a, like, wait, that would just be the GPU, but yeah, you can't expect them to sell a console at a $2,000 loss. That's just completely unreasonable.
It's partially assisted by the fact that the PS5 apparently has 16 gigabytes of RAM.
That'll be assisted by 16 gigabytes of RAM. Well, consoles mostly share RAM between CPU and GPU, so it's reasonable to expect 16. But if they wanted to hit 8K and have games that are also demanding on the CPU, which most games today you can't expect to run with less than 8 gigabytes. Some games even use way more than, like, 10. Some games even use 14 gigabytes of RAM, and that's just CPU on PC. And 8K is gonna use tons. Even at 4K, a lot of the time, 6 gigabytes of VRAM might not quite cut it. So if you want to go 4K, you should have at least 8 gigabytes of VRAM, at least with the really demanding games. If you want to go 8K, holy shit, you would need so much more VRAM. So if they only had 16, they couldn't really do 8K. And if it wasn't shared, and this was just for the CPU, then it would have no influence on the graphics.
Inside it. This is, again, not super shocking, and is a good sign, though. It's basically saying that this will be a very nice step up.
Yeah, it'll be on the level of the average gaming PC from 2012. Okay, maybe not the average, but most gaming PCs have had 16 gigs for years. And that's CPU only dedicated.
From current consoles, but not such a giant leap ahead that the consoles will possibly cost $600.
No, they'll obviously cost $2,400 because they'll have to put 2 RTX 2080 Ti's in them to do 8K. See where the problem is now?
Something that was said again and again during my talks with this person is that cost was definitely on the table. It seems like they're trying to do everything as cheaply as possible.
Yeah, and that's why they're not gonna do 8K. If they're gonna go cheap, you can't expect them to go much further than the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. Because think about it, the Xbox One X now is 2 years old, right? And so, since then, especially CPU technology has evolved a lot. Especially since the original Xbox One and PS4 came out, so we can expect quite a leap there. But GPU technology in the last 2 years has stagnated a ton. Prices have... Usually, prices would drop quite a lot. Like, if you paid $700 for a graphics card, in the next generation you'd get the same a graphics card with the same performance for $350 to $400, and in the last generation the price to performance pretty much kept the same, except more powerful cards released at higher price points.
And also, it seems like they're trying to cut a lot of special deals with a lot of these companies to make sure when they get the parts, they can get them for just pennies, to try and get them for the lowest cost. That way the console itself isn't going to be like $500 or $800, because let's face it, nobody's buying an $800 PS5. I don't care how good the graphics are. Now, something else is, something I've actually heard about and speculated on in previous videos is the idea of a solid-state drive being inside it, an SSD.
Yeah, they've said that's going to be there.
Well, this has now been confirmed by my source.
It was already confirmed.
But what's funny is that the prototype PS5s, and there's actually multiple versions of it.
No, what's funny is that you actually believe you can fool people. At least people who even slightly know technology. Anyone who knows anything about technology is fully aware that you're bullshitting everyone here.
All of them are running with 256 gigabytes of solid-state memory just to try and save cash right now. Now, when it actually comes...
Now, that is something that they might release with that amount. Maybe they'll go with more because of SSD prices. But, yeah. I would say that that could be a reasonable estimate for the actual release, but don't think that is because this guy says it, because this guy is just throwing names and numbers and bullshit around.
Out. Apparently they're trying to cut deals to make sure that it can have 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes in it, but the general idea is that they're trying to get the cost as low as possible, and right now the technology for solid-state hard drives is getting easier to create, so by the time this console releases next year, it'll be a much more affordable state. Now let's talk for a second about those multiple prototypes, because this is perhaps where the information gets the most confusing from public notes, other leaks, and what this means right now.
Yeah, that's where you need to make up more bullshit for filler to get over 10 minutes. Good thing I have ad block on. Fuck you.
So something we've actually seen in the news here and there is the fact that Mark Cerny, he's actually the guy who's the head of the PlayStation 4 development and now the head of the basically the engineering and development team of the PlayStation 5. Mark Cerny has actually talked about AMD Navi processors, working with Navi architecture. Basically, this is like the style of stuff that's going to be inside the next console. Well, this was not said at all by my source. I heard about things like possibly an AMD Radeon processor. I've heard a lot of stuff about different CPUs and GPUs being put in this, but the main console he was talking to me about actually had NVIDIA tech in it. Now,
I really, really doubt that. I mean, Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS3, and PS4 all had AMD technology. Most consoles have gone with AMD technology for a long time. The only exception, the only recent notable exception, is the Nintendo Switch, which went with the NVIDIA Tegra X1. So, there is a possibility, but I really don't think they're gonna go with NVIDIA, especially since AMD has always been a lot more bang for the buck. And because of the way their GPUs are built, a lot more performance can be squeezed out of them, especially when Vulkan and DX12 came out. A new feature was shown called asynchronous compute. I won't go into details about how it works, but it made AMD hardware work much more efficiently, and thanks to asynchronous compute, AMD hardware increased performance so much that an RX 480 could run games that used it almost as well as a 1070. And that's a whole price class above the 480. A 1070 is usually quite a lot stronger. So it's quite crazy that it's this much of a difference.
Now, this is all being based on hardcore stuff that's already on store shelves. Now, I'm using the thing based on because nothing in consoles is ever just straight up the store shelves and put in your console. It's always customized to some degree, mostly because they want to try and make it affordable, but also because they want to make sure that every piece of it perfectly integrates together. Well, in this, the NVIDIA tech is actually based on, let me read it off here, the GTX 660. So
you can't even get your bullshit right. You said the GTX 660. That thing came out in... Wait, when did it come out? GTX 660. Yeah, that thing came out in 2012. Yeah, so... You if you're gonna spew bullshit, at least be consistent with your bullshit. But yeah, 1660, that's not gonna do shit. So yeah, I said earlier this guy claims there's gonna be a 1660. At least I think I said it earlier. Actually no, I haven't mentioned that yet, but 1660, that is not really all that powerful. It's a bit stronger than the Xbox One X, the X, but not that much more powerful. So you really can't expect this to be true at all, and if it was true, then Sony would be, well, they would be going super cheap if that was the case.
the 660 technology that's coming out now, that's sort of being talked about, that's what it's in. This is strong stuff, but not mind-blowing stuff. Basically,
I wouldn't call it that strong, but what's strong and weak is very subjective, so whatever.
a lot of this tech stuff makes me think that this is going to be a nice leap above, but not crazy impossible.
Yeah, nice leap above. Like I said, it's barely stronger than the Xbox One X, so it's not really that much of a leap.
I know a lot of people, when it comes to the next console generation, there's always the talk about how is this going to compare to PC gaming. A lot of times whenever there's like that next huge thing coming over the horizon, a lot of people compare it to current high-end PCs because those are obviously creating the best graphics, the best visuals, the most instantaneous load times. So people are saying, okay, compared to like a $3,000 supercomputer, where does this measure up? And in my opinion, just by looking at a lot of these notes and what my source was telling me,
that measures up to like a $500-600 PC, maybe at least that video card is what you would find in a well-built $600 or $700 PC.
it seems like they are measuring up in an actual practical manner. This is not going to be reinventing the wheel. This is not going to be impossible, freaking crazy graphics that make your eyes bleed, but they are still going to be awesome. So the last two things I really want to hit up here at the end are two other little details that he told me about that I find very, very fascinating, but are obviously less important. So let's start off by talking about the controller itself, because apparently...
Okay, yeah, this is less important. So I think I'll just drop it here. I just wanted to make clear how hard he was bullshitting on the tech. To just give an idea of just how little this guy knows what he's talking about. So, thanks for your time and listening to me screech at this shit. But yeah, this really annoys me, so I had to say something.